It was exactly 6 a.m. when my doorbell rang so hard I thought someone was trying to break it down. Through the window, I saw two police officers on my porch, while my neighbor watched from across the street with a smile on her face. She thought this would be the day my life fell apart. She had no idea that within the hour the truth would destroy her reputation instead. My name is Ethan. Until that morning, I believed I had a peaceful life. I'd moved into this quiet suburban neighborhood 8 months earlier, after losing my wife to cancer. Starting over wasn't easy, but I wanted a place where my 12-year-old daughter Lily could feel safe again. Clean streets, friendly houses, families walking dogs at dusk. I thought we'd found a fresh start. The only person who never welcomed us was the woman next door, Carol. From the first week, she watched everything I did. She complained about my garbage bins. She measured how far my car sat from the curb. She knocked on my door to tell me my wind chimes were too loud. I ignored it at first. Some people just like to complain. But it got stranger. She photographed anyone who visited. She stared through her curtains whenever I left for work. Lily told me she felt scared because Carol kept asking her questions on the walk home from school. I reported it to the neighborhood association. They said Carol had lived there nearly 20 years, was known for being difficult, and suggested I avoid conflict. For months, I did exactly that. Then everything changed. The night before, Lily and I stayed up past midnight finishing her science project, a model volcano. We laughed for the first time in weeks. I set it carefully on the kitchen table before bed. At 5:45 a.m., I woke to footsteps outside my bedroom window. I looked out, saw nothing, assumed it was someone walking a dog, and went to make breakfast. 15 minutes later, the doorbell exploded with knocking. 2 officers stood there. They'd received an emergency report claiming I was running an illegal operation inside my home, that someone was screaming for help. I stood there speechless. Lily came downstairs rubbing her eyes. The officers looked surprised. They asked politely if they could check the house. I agreed instantly. I had nothing to hide. While they checked every room, Carol stood outside pretending to water her flowers, watching everything. They found nothing. No violence, no hidden rooms, no evidence of any crime, just a tired single father making breakfast and a child getting ready for school. One officer apologized for the inconvenience. Then before leaving, he asked quietly if I'd had problems with anyone nearby. I hesitated. Then I told him everything, the complaints, the photographs, the questions aimed at my daughter, the feeling of always being watched. He listened, he nodded. Then he walked across the street to Carol. She started talking before he could even ask. She'd only wanted to protect the neighborhood, she said. She'd heard screaming in the night. He asked a few follow-up questions and her story started to shift. First, the noise happened at midnight, then around 3. Finally, she admitted she never actually heard anything. She'd only assumed something was wrong because my lights stayed on late. The officers thanked her and left. I thought it was over. I was wrong. That afternoon, one of the officers called. While reviewing past neighborhood complaints, they discovered Carol had filed multiple false emergency reports against several other families over the past 3 years. Different neighbors, different accusations, always without evidence. Some families had moved away just to escape the harassment. The police encouraged everyone affected to file formal statements. For the first time, the neighborhood started talking. One family said Carol falsely accused their teenage son of vandalism. An elderly couple said she'd repeatedly reported imaginary loud parties. A young mother admitted she'd nearly sold her house over the constant complaints. Nobody had seen the pattern until they compared notes. Weeks later, the homeowners association called a community meeting. Nearly every family showed up. Instead of arguing, people calmly laid out what had happened to them. The picture was undeniable. The association voted formal penalties for repeated rule violations, and local authorities warned Carol that continued false emergency reports could carry real legal consequences. After that, everything slowly changed. The complaints stopped, the photographs stopped, the strange phone calls stopped. For the first time since we'd moved in, Lily played outside without feeling watched. Neighbors who'd barely spoken before started helping each other. Kids rode bikes together again. Families organized weekend cookouts. The neighborhood finally became the place I thought I'd moved into. Months later, one of the officers drove through on patrol, saw the kids playing and stopped for a moment. He told me something I've never forgotten, that most communities aren't destroyed by criminals. They're damaged when good people stay silent while one person spreads fear. Looking back, I understood. Carol expected fear to isolate everyone. Instead, the truth brought us together. The morning she called the police believing she'd ruined my life, became the exact moment her own behavior was finally exposed. If that officer had never asked one simple question, the harassment might have gone on for years. Instead, honesty won, justice arrived quietly. An ordinary morning at 6 a.m. became the beginning of a new chapter for everyone on our street. Sometimes the people who try hardest to destroy someone else's reputation end up exposing their own. False accusations create fear for a moment, but the truth lasts a lot longer.